All About the Indie Devs takes us to an interview I got to have with Alien Pixel Studios about their game Unbound Worlds Apart. Now, it was a very special conversation that covered a lot of different topics within the game. I was very excited to do it, and there was a lot of great things that we touched on. So without further ado, let's get into the interview, shall we?
Where did the studio name come from?
It's a while back. We were at the Game Jam, and were doing like a small game called Celogy. It was like a small cell. It's like quite similar to Spore, and you had to gather more cells and grow bigger. And it looked a bit alien. We also had to fill in a team name for the game. So we were thinking of names to associate, and like it was Alien and Pixel. So that's how Alien Pixel Studios started.
And you guys been making Unbound for how long right now?
4 years, I think.
4 years. Perfect. All right. So just kind of talk to me about the inspiration behind developing the game. I mean, what drew you into that particular art style, storytelling, everything kind of around that?
We wanted to do a horror game in Unreal Engine, and we quickly realized that we don't have the budget or the resources necessary to create. We decided, hey, let's do a game in 2D, but still keep the Unreal Engine.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this idea, like you have many lights, and in each light you have a different you see different things. So
Okay.
that's how the main idea was for the game, and that was really hard to represent in 2D with light and everything. So we needed another idea. How are we going to present different things? So I was looking on a YouTube video with a metal band called Architects, and they had a huge bubble behind them in one of their video clips. So that's how we came with the idea with the portals.
Yep, and the idea behind the art style, I thought that considering that we have already two different worlds that will alternate and will change the behavior of environment or of monsters or everything else around, I thought that it resembles to me like a bit of a fairy tale. I got that idea that I want to portray it as a children's book, but with a bit darker twist to it, peaceful and nice art style, but with a dark twist to it. So this is how I came up with this art style. Also, I was quite impressed and inspired by the art of Rayman and Ori, and it kind of influenced me.
I was gonna ask that because Metroidvanias, I mean, Hollow Knight, Ori, a lot of those games, they do share some similarities. I wondered if you pulled any inspiration from those titles.
Of course. Of course we did, because it's just hard to ignore those titles.
Yeah.
They're absolutely beautiful, and they do set up a standard for the art style, and especially for the 2D games. And we did. We took a lot of inspiration from that, the standard.
Yeah,
more
absolutely. And with the portals, I mean, just how many can players kind of expect when they go through the game, and just kind of what elements does that bring to the title as a whole?
I think we'll have at least 8 portals in the final game.
Okay.
And the goal of the portals is to offer players a lot of variety and to just surprise them at any step in the game. In the demo, we have a free demo on Steam. If you tried it out, we have like 3 different portals. We have one that changes the monsters and the environment. We have one that's black and white and shows you your way in the dark and lets you explore safely. And we also have one that reverses gravity. So those 3 you can try out right now if you go on Steam and search for Unbound Worlds Apart Prologue. And we have a lot more in the making right now. We have one that lets you turn into a box and squash monsters and destroy some stuff. We have one that stops time and transforms projectiles into platforms, so you have to do some actions really quick. We have another one which makes Sully really small, so he can fit into gaps and stuff like that and hide from monsters. We have one that makes you faster. You'll run a lot faster and quicker. So we have quite a few of them. And the goal was to try an idea with each of them and give the player like around 30 to 45 minutes of time to explore the portal and see what they can do.
And with that in mind, just kind of touching briefly on like the time frame of how you play with the portals, just kind of how long can players expect the game to be? I know that the levels are very structured in the sense where you can kind of explore them in free will and go around different areas, but just kind of an average, I guess you could say, of just how long you could really see the story going for.
Around 6 or 7 hours on the main path. And we have additional 2 hours, I think, on optional quests or side quests. And so
that answered my other question. Actually, I was going to ask if you guys had side quests in that sense. So
yeah, they're not maybe really side quests, but there are more like secrets. You get in the map and you get to explore and do some additional puzzles. And if you find all of the secrets, you get another thing. But we won't go on that. Like, we want to surprise everybody.
Gotcha. Okay. And then just following release, do you have any DLC, seasonal content, anything along that line? Maybe even a sequel or a separate game?
If the game goes well and people like the game, and we see that they want more, we are planning to do some DLCs, of course. So in those DLC expects to have different new worlds with other portals. So we do have some ideas right now that they didn't end up in the full game.
Yeah, like we have 3 worlds right now. We have one which is very green and lush and mostly like a forest. One which is barren and like a desert windy and full of creatures like that. And also one which is purgatory, and that's the last big map that we'll have. And maybe a good idea for the DLC, we were thinking having like a nice map. I think Olga would like to do that visually.
And then I know you guys had mentioned that the release date was coming up, but can you guys kind of narrow down a specific time or a specific kind of month or period? Is that kind of something you can narrow down at this point?
We are striving to release it at the end of the spring or at the beginning of the summer. We are not quite set on the date yet, but by the end of the spring, we are hoping to launch it.
I ask every developer this. Favorite part of the game? I know it's a broad question. It's hard to answer, but every kind of developer locks in on one specific thing usually. What are your guys' favorite part of it?
Well, I can answer for myself. My favorite part is where we have the inverse gravity portal. I think that's the part I like the most in the first world, in the first map.
You know, when I played the prologue, that was probably the hardest part for me. I struggled with that so much, but it was really fun. I really enjoyed it, so I completely understand that. It was very awesome to see that in the game. Never seen anything like that, to be honest. It was very unique and refreshing for a game to have.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We expanded that section quite a lot. So like right now you have 1 hour of gameplay with only that portal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else have something specific or?
For me, it's the secret parts, especially the platforming. Mm-hmm. Like when we build the game, we try to make it not too difficult. So we try to balance it so most players could enjoy it. So that meant we had to like hide the hardest platforming areas. We have a lot of secrets and they're a lot tougher than the game, but they're more challenging and I really like doing those sections and we have a lot of them. That's what I like the most. We don't have that much in the demo, since it was more like we wanted to show a lot of mechanics really quick. Yep. But in the full game we have a lot of areas which are optional and we'll test the players and their ability.
Okay. I completely understand.
Yeah. And for me, it's usually the last part I'm working on because for example, if I'm working on a section like for 3 or 4 months, then it's hard for me to enjoy it anymore. So when I'm working on something new, that's usually my next favorite part.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's fresh and I like it more.
Yeah, I completely understand. And when it releases, do you guys kind of know what it will be releasing on besides PC and Steam and all of that sort? Do you have potentially a console release down the road, or are you envisioning that?
Yeah, we're currently trying to get it on all platforms like PC, Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation.
Yeah, on consoles we might have a partner that they are helping us with the porting.
Well, when I played the game, I was very impressed with it. I thought it was very unique, very interesting. Nothing like it before. I mean, it does ring a lot like Ori and Hollow Knight, Hollow Knight. But just because they're Metroidvanias, and it's hard to avoid that. But I mean, it's such a unique title. I love the Portal aspect to it. Just really unique, very beautiful art style. One question that I did not actually touch on that I'd meant to: skills trees. I know a lot of RPG-esque Metroidvanias have them. Is that something that this title will lean into, or is there any kind of character progression or upgrade of that sort?
Yeah, sure. We have abilities, like permanent abilities that the main character will acquire them over the game. It's the same as Ori and Hollow Knight, as you mentioned, but beside that, we have the portals, of course, because we have like 8 portals. They add like 8 new abilities, so each section will be very different than other section, and of course you then combine it with the skills, and becomes very interesting. Like you're going to have wall jump, double jump, dash, and all that funny and interesting mechanics.
Okay.
Sorry, we like to call our game Brainvania. Like it is a Metroidvania, but we don't have fighting per se, so you mostly need to outsmart your enemies, and we have some small boss fights. But because we don't have fighting, you need to find clever ways to outsmart them. So that's why we like to call it a Brainvania.
I like that. Is there any gameplay mechanics you guys kind of wanted to highlight before we wrap things up, kind of lock in on?
Well, I think like the whole atmosphere and especially the art, like you said it yourself, like when you open the portal and you see that it's really a different world. We don't just recolor the assets. We have like 2 separate sets of assets, one for each world, and it really feels different when you open it. And apart from that, we really tried to like build a world. Like we have a talented writer who helped us with the story, and it's coming really nicely. Like we'll have a lot more dialogue and a lot of secrets you can unlock about the world, and try to figure out what these worlds are and what happened to them and what's going on in that universe. And I hope players will really try to find these secrets, and I hope they enjoy them.
Okay, and just kind of touching on that really briefly before we finishing up. I know I keep adding questions, but when you first started creating the game, how much did you either scale back or kind of add on to it? Just from that initial vision when you decided to make Unbound.
Oh my god. So basically first when we started, we thought like let's make a game like in the Limbo style, very linear, going from A to B, but then we said okay, we might need to add more paths, so it became non-linear. Then we said okay, we need a story as well, so we added NPCs. And after that, Andrei joined the team, and he said let's add the skill tree. So that's how the game evolved.
So it just kept getting bigger and bigger, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly, we've been in a constant scope creep, and we're just now trying to stop it and let's say, okay, this is enough. Let's polish everything. Let's make sure everything is nice. But if we do too much, we won't be able to polish it at the level we want. So yeah, that's the stage we're at right now.
Yeah. We also increased the size of the team, so it's not just 3 of us. We have additional help on the art, on story, and on music. Yeah.
Well, outside of that, I think we covered everything. I mean, like I said, it's a really unique title. I'm really excited to see it when it releases. Is there anything kind of you wanted to add at the very end to tell players or touch on it before we finish it up?
Maybe if they're interested, just go and play it on Steam, play the demo on Steam, and
we'll be waiting for all the players at the launch date.
Yeah, and if you want, they can join our Discord. Like it's Unbound, the discord.gg/Unbound. If they want to talk with us, we're always there.
Yeah, or on Twitter. We are very active on Twitter as well.
I had a blast really discussing Unbound Worlds Apart. It's a very exciting game. It's a very beautifully made game. There's a whole bunch of different aspects about it that are really exciting and really, really great for anybody who loves adventure games and Metroidvania games. There's a little bit of everything for anybody. That is all about the indie devs.
That's it. My sentence is over.
Your sentence is what, Brian?
Hey, listen.